What makes a person decide to stay behind when everyone they arrived with is getting ready to leave? What would make an 18-year-old college athlete walk away from the boat that carried him to a remote barrier island, especially when his phone and keys would return to the mainland without him? And if he truly planned to remain there, why does the young woman connected to that explanation appear in a conflicting account? Then there is another question. What do you do when a boat leaves at 4:31 in the afternoon? A later witness says Nolan Wells was nowhere in sight by around 7:30, and the most important stretch of his final hours still has no publicly verified explanation. There is also a recording. I have the publicly released CTO call made from the boat involved in this case, and when you hear it, I want you to separate what the caller clearly says from what people online claim they hear in the background. That distinction matters because this case has attracted speculation, edited clips, rumors, and theories that move much faster than verified evidence. Nolan's family deserves answers, but answers do not come from forcing a conclusion before the evidence supports one. Most people have heard fragments of this story. A missing teenager, a remote island, friends who returned without him, a boat taking on water, a young woman, a search, a body found 2 days later. What many people have not heard is how those pieces line up when the official GPS data, public statements, witness accounts, and independent autopsy findings are placed in order. That is where the real tension begins, because once the timeline is stripped of rumor, several questions remain, and nobody has publicly answered all of them. If you value true crime stories built around documented facts instead of internet rumors, like this video, and subscribe to North American Crime Case. We follow the evidence, separate confirmed information from disputed claims, and keep the people at the center of these cases in focus. Before Nolan Xavier Wells became the subject of an investigation, he was an 18-year-old from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, with plans extending far beyond the 4th of July weekend. He graduated from Ocean Springs High School in 2025. He played multiple sports, including football, basketball, and baseball, and later continued football at Southwest Mississippi Community College. He was a wide receiver preparing for another season. People who knew Nolan described someone active, social, and invested in his teammates. Coaches remembered his work ethic and the way he treated people around him. His family knew him as a young man with routines, expectations, and a future already taking shape. He would have turned 19 in August. On July 3rd, according to his mother, Christine Wansley, Nolan cooked dinner for his parents before leaving home. She later recalled him saying goodbye, telling her he loved her, and heading out to stay with a friend. The next day was Independence Day. On the morning of July 4th, Nolan joined friends for a boating trip to Horn Island, a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Horn Island is not a neighborhood park where someone who changes plans simply orders a ride home. Access is by boat. Once a person is there, leaving depends on another vessel. Official GPS information later obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources gives the day several fixed points. The boat carrying Nolan left a private dock at approximately 9:56 in the morning. It reached Horn Island at approximately 11:14. For hours, the vessel remained around the northwest area of the island while Nolan and others spent the holiday there. At first, nothing in that timeline sounds unusual. A group travels to an island. They arrive before midday. They spend hours around the water. Then, sometime during the afternoon, the story begins to fracture. Authorities initially said Nolan was last seen around 3 p.m. Friends later gave accounts saying he was talking with a young woman and chose to remain on the island when their group left. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office publicly said its early understanding was that Nolan made the decision to stay behind. That explanation matters because it became the reason the boat could return without him without immediately being treated as proof that something had gone wrong. But Nolan's parents questioned it. One of the concerns involved the belongings that did return. Nolan's phone was not with him. His keys were not with him. His mother later said she had to locate the phone after realizing her son had not come home. For his family, the idea that Nolan voluntarily stayed on a remote island while his phone went back to the mainland did not fit what they expected from him. That alone does not prove a crime. People change plans. Young adults make spontaneous choices. Phones get left behind. But in a death investigation, details become important when later accounts do not line up cleanly. The young woman Nolan was reportedly speaking with was later publicly identified as Katie McCormack. Friends described Nolan as wanting to stay and continue talking with her, with the understanding that he would get another ride home. Then Nolan's family and attorney Ben Crump publicly described a different account. According to them, Katie understood that Nolan planned to return to the boat with his friends. Those two versions create a simple but serious question. What did Nolan himself intend to do? If he planned to stay, the friend's explanation becomes easier to understand. If he expected to leave with them, then the decision to depart without him demands closer examination. At this point, the public record does not resolve that conflict. Now the clock becomes important. The boat's GPS data shows that it began leaving Horn Island at 4:31 p.m. 4:31, not an estimate based only on memory. The vessel movement appears in GPS information obtained from state marine authorities. Nolan was not on that boat when it left. The GPS data also shows the vessel moving unusually slowly for part of the return trip, before normal operation resumed. Reports later explained that the boat had experienced trouble involving its bilge pump and was taking on water. One detail makes that transition even more important. According to the timeline released through local reporting, the boat did not immediately race back to the mainland at normal speed. After leaving Horn Island, GPS data showed a slow period covering roughly 2 3/4 miles before normal operation resumed. The vessel later entered Fort Bayou and returned to the dock. None of that establishes wrongdoing. It does, however, give investigators a measurable sequence that can be compared against statements, phone records, the towing call, and any original video captured during the trip. That is why exact times matter so much here. Memory changes under stress. People remember conversations differently. Social media posts can be reposted with altered captions or missing context. GPS records, original files, authenticated calls, and properly collected forensic evidence provide a firmer foundation. In Nolan's case, the strongest public timeline is still incomplete, but the known points allow investigators to test individual accounts rather than rely on assumptions. There is also a human reason to stay disciplined. Nolan's friends and other people who were on Horn Island have faced intense online accusations, while Nolan's family has continued asking for a complete explanation. Until evidence establishes criminal responsibility, suspicion is not proof. A responsible investigation has to protect both needs at the same time, giving Nolan's death the scrutiny it deserves, while refusing to turn unanswered questions into accusations against people who have not been charged by any public authority. That mechanical problem produced one of the most discussed pieces of evidence in the entire case, the sea tow call. The call was made to a private marine towing service around the time the group was trying to leave Horn Island. The caller reported that the boat was taking on water because of a bilge pump problem. The recording was later publicly released. I have that recording here, and when you hear it, focus first on the words that are clear. The boat is in trouble. Help is being discussed. There are multiple voices and sounds around the caller. Then focus on what is not clear. After the recording spread online, listeners began posting different interpretations of faint background speech. Some claimed they could hear Nolan's name. Others claimed they heard questions involving whether someone was dead. Enhanced versions began circulating, and with every new version, certainty online seemed to increase. But professional audio analysis does not work by deciding what a voice says first and then processing the recording until it seems to match. A forensic audio expert interviewed about the case warned that enhancement can introduce artifacts and that expectation itself can affect what listeners believe they hear. Nolan's family retained experts to examine the original audio. So the responsible position is simple. The sea tow recording is real. The boat problem is real. The disputed background phrases are not established facts.
Connect you.
Cito Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir.
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't
All
have the
right,
tag on
unless you
here.
have a
It got ripped
membership
off.
number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at 2.
All right, and is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right, do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right, do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
North. Alright, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I'm available.
North 30 degrees by 4672.
All right, 4672. All right, and you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, what?
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
No, we do not have the VHF radio.
All right, well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right, looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
Yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn
Island?
Island. Yes.
All right, is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We were sinking, yes.
Is it aground is the question?
No, we're not aground. We are in
Okay.
17 foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water.
All right, have to ask. What do you want to do? Do you want to be towed back?
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back, yes.
All right, where would you like it towed to, sir?
You can tow it to Ocean Springs Harbor, or Fort Bayou Launch.
All right, how many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question. Hello, can you hear me?
Try to jump in and pull the plug while you're going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay,
How many
what's
adults
going
on board?
So, there are 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does everyone have life jackets on or available to them?
Yes, we have life jackets available.
All right, verify what boat's sinking.
A Triton, 22 foot offshore, 22 foot Triton offshore sea flight hull.
All right. All right. Please hold. I'm transferring you to the local captain now.
Okay, thank you.
This is Captain Seth.
Hi, Captain Seth. This is Vicky from International. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. I apologize ahead of time. I really do. You're going to have a fee for service come up under...
Okay.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He's letting me know that his father's a member, but he can't give me any information. And he's saying the boat is sinking, and he's on Horn Island. It's just unfortunate. He's just a kid. There's a lot going on. So
Right.
he said there's about a lot of people on board. He says he thinks about 7. I'm guessing they're all under 18.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be rude. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Do you know what kind of boat it is?
He said a Triton 24-footer, but that's all he can give me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat. And he said,
Okay.
I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, he'll call me back. So I'm guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Yeah, they're in a panic. He's saying the bilge is not keeping up. I asked for Coast Guard. He said no, but he's just really upset on the back end. And, I get it. It's a kid. He just doesn't understand.
Oh, okay. Do you still have him on the line?
Yes, I still have him on the line. And, again, I couldn't find he couldn't give me anything regarding his grandfather's, membership, so it's just under fee for service.
Okay. All right. I just talked to, if you want to, we're so tied up right now. We can't really do any non-member jobs right now.
Is he a member? Did you find out if he was a member or not?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's his boat or what. I'm not sure what's going on with it. Transfer the kid over. I'll talk to him, and then I'll call his grandpa back as well.
All right. And did you want me to look up membership number or anything like that to see if he's up? I know you guys are
You can try this cell phone number.
Yes, sir.
Anything on his phone number?
All right. Yep. He's an active member. Hold on.
What kind of boat do you have on there? Same boat?
Yeah, he's one of your members. Yep, 22-foot Triton. All right, I'll just disregard this one. I'm going to send you over an accurate one under this one, okay? He's one of your members. You'll get in a couple minutes, okay?
Okay, perfect. All right, and just transfer this kid over whenever you get a chance.
All right, transferring now. Thank you again, Captain.
All righty.
Stay safe out there. It's crazy. Have a drink.
Oh, it's wild. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello? Hello? Are you there? I apologize. I will be disconnecting due to lack of response.
And that makes the call more important, not less, because investigators have an original recording that can be examined without relying on social media guesses. While questions surrounding the boat were growing, another organization became involved. The United Cajun Navy joined the search effort after Nolan's mother sought help. Volunteers later compiled material received from tips, photographs, videos, messages, coordinates, and social media posts into a working analytical report. The report has attracted attention because it attempts to reconstruct movement around Horn Island. But its own warnings are important. It is not a law enforcement conclusion. It does not assign criminal responsibility. Some images and timing information came from supplied or screen-recorded material that still requires authentication. That means every timestamp in the report should not be treated like a verified GPS coordinate. Still, the document raises questions worth examining. One of the clearest pieces of independently supported timing remains the boat's 4:31 departure. The report also contains statements from people who say they were on Horn Island later that afternoon. One of those names is Caitlin Brochard. According to the statement reproduced in the report, her group remained on the island until around 7:30 p.m. She said Nolan was nowhere in sight when they left. That statement has been distorted online. Caitlin Brochard did not say in that report that she watched Nolan being attacked. She did not provide a documented account saying she saw someone kill him. What the report attributes to her is narrower. She says he was nowhere in sight around the time her group departed. That negative observation still matters, but only within its limits. To understand its value, investigators would need to know exactly where she was positioned, what area she could see, how long she had been there, whether she had seen Nolan earlier, and how confidently she could identify him. The report itself recognizes those limitations, so 7:30 does not tell us what happened to Nolan. It gives us another clock. The friend's boat left at 4:31. A later witness says Nolan was nowhere in sight when her group left around 7:30. Between those points, the public timeline is incomplete. There is another reported account in the United Cajun Navy material that has fueled even more speculation. It concerns people who were described as almost fighting around approximately 5 p.m. A passenger was reportedly confident about an identification. Another person disputed that identification and said someone else was involved. The report does not treat this as a confirmed sighting of Nolan. That point needs to be clear. There were reports of altercations on Horn Island that day, and law enforcement later asked members of the public to submit original photos, videos, eyewitness accounts, and information involving unusual activity or alleged altercations. But the existence of a fight somewhere on the island does not establish that Nolan was attacked. This is where the case becomes difficult to discuss responsibly. The facts are dramatic enough on their own. Nolan arrived with friends. He was last publicly accounted for during the afternoon. The boat left at 4:31 without him. His phone returned to the mainland.
First, I want to give all thanks and honor and glory to God for choosing Elmore and me to be Nolan's parents. We thank you, Lord, for the beautiful 18 years that you blessed us with him. Thank you for the joy he brought not only to our family, but also to his friends and everyone in the community whose lives he touched. Nolan had such a gentle, calming spirit about him. He had a way of making people feel seen, welcome, and valued. He could lift your confidence with just a few words and make you feel like you belonged. If you ever had the privilege of meeting our son Nolan or calling him a friend, then you experienced a glimpse of God's love through him. He was both protective and nurturing. He often told us that one day he wanted to have 3 daughters that he would name Sophia, Charlotte, and Olivia. He had a deep love for the Lord and an unwavering faith that was evident in the way he lived his life. As much as our hearts are broken, we find peace in knowing that our son is resting in the arms of the Lord. We will miss everything about him, from his quiet nature to the corny jokes, his gentle smile, the way he made everyone around him feel comfortable, loved, and at ease. Your absence has left an emptiness that can never truly be filled. A piece of our hearts will always be missing. Nolan, your father and I are incredibly proud of you. We've always been proud of you, of the young man you were, and we will always be proud of the legacy of love, kindness, and faith that you have left behind. In a world that can often feel dark, be like Nolan. Be the light that brightens the lives of those around you. Be the warmth for those who may be feeling the coldness of the world. Love deeply, protect fiercely, and welcome others with kindness. And remain faithful knowing that God is always with you. Lastly, I ask that each of you keep Nolan's memory alive. Hold him close in your hearts. Share his stories and never stop saying his name. As long as we continue to remember him, his light will continue to shine through us all. Nolan, we love you. We'll continue to fight for you. Yes. And until we meet again, and thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Accounts differ over whether he intended to stay. A later witness says he was nowhere in sight around 7:30. Reports of altercations exist, but available public evidence does not confirm Nolan was involved. Then night arrives. At approximately 11 p.m., one of Nolan's friends contacted the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard later said the call did not require its assistance. Nolan's mother has said she received a call around that same period and began trying to determine where her son was. By 11:49 p.m., Marine authorities had a missing person report. Now think about the shift that had occurred. At 4:31, a boat left Horn Island without Nolan. Hours later, the assumption was still that he had chosen to stay and found another way home. Then the people who might have brought him back began realizing he had not returned. His phone was on the mainland. Nolan was not. The following day, July 5th, the search expanded. Multiple agencies became involved. Drones were deployed. Boats worked the area. Marine officers used GPS information from the vessel to narrow the search toward the northwest portion of Horn Island. Sonar operations were attempted, though adverse weather interfered with some efforts. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office took the lead investigation while other agencies supported the search. Authorities also began looking for people who had been on the island. They asked the public for original footage, not reposted clips or edited social media versions. That request matters because original files preserve details investigators need, including reliable metadata. Nolan's family was waiting for the answer everyone wanted. Where was he? On the morning of July 6th, that question changed. A body was found in the water near the northwest end of Horn Island. It was Nolan. The 18-year-old who had traveled there for the 4th of July would not be coming home. Early public information said there were no obvious signs of major physical trauma. Those words were quickly treated by some people as if they settled the case. They did not. No obvious signs describes what was immediately visible. It does not determine cause of death. It does not establish whether a death was accidental, natural, or caused by another person. That determination requires forensic examination and the wider investigation. Mississippi's medical examiner performed the official autopsy. Those results have not been publicly released because the case is expected to be reviewed by a grand jury. Nolan's family wanted an independent examination as well. Dr. Roger Mitchell performed the second autopsy after the body had already undergone the state examination. What he found did not provide a simple answer. He reported no fractures and no deep tissue injuries in several areas he examined. He also documented a large area of red discoloration in tissue at the back of Nolan's head. The cause of that discoloration was not established, and decomposition limited what could be concluded from it. The second examination faced another major limitation. Nolan's body had already been autopsied. Internal organs had been removed, and some structures needed for a complete independent review were no longer available in their original condition. Dr. Mitchell therefore did not declare homicide. He did not declare accidental drowning. His preliminary finding listed both the cause and manner of death as undetermined, pending further investigation. Undetermined. That word is important because it tells us what the evidence has not yet established. It does not mean murder. It does not mean accident. It means the available examination did not permit a final determination. Dr. Mitchell also said he could not rule out intervening non-accidental factors. Again, that is not a conclusion that someone attacked Nolan. It means the possibility could not be excluded from the evidence available to him. And that brings us back to the same place where this case keeps returning, the missing stretch of time. What happened after Nolan was last reliably seen? What did he intend to do when his friends prepared to leave? Where was he at 4:31 when the boat began moving away from Horn Island? Why did his phone return without him? What weight should investigators give the later statement that he was nowhere in sight around 7:30? What, if anything, can the original CETO audio establish once qualified experts examine it? And what will the unreleased state autopsy add to the picture? There are theories online, there are accusations, there are viral clips, there are people who believe they already know exactly what happened. The documented record is more careful. No publicly identified person has been charged with causing Nolan Wells's death. No official public finding has established homicide. The investigation remains active, and the case is expected to go before a grand jury. That does not make the unanswered questions disappear. It makes getting them right more important. This leaves us with a young man who went to Horn Island with friends, a boat that left at 4:31 without him, conflicting accounts about whether he meant to stay, a later witness who says he was nowhere in sight, a real but heavily debated marine call, and an independent autopsy that still could not determine exactly how he died. Next, we are going deeper into the evidence that followed: the phone, the disputed digital material, what investigators have said publicly, what Nolan's family and attorneys are challenging, and why the next phase of this case may depend on evidence the public has still not seen. If you want fact-based coverage of this investigation as the record develops, like this video and subscribe to North American Crime Case. Let's continue from the moment the search ended and the deeper investigation began, because the biggest question remains unresolved. What happened to Nolan Wells between the last reliable account of him alive and the discovery of his body 2 days later? What happens when the evidence you thought would solve a mystery starts creating new questions instead? What happens when a document appears online claiming to reveal the truth, only for state officials to say the document is fake? What happens when a video seems to capture a missing teenager in a confrontation, but someone who says he was in that video tells investigators the voice belongs to him, not Nolan Wells? And what happens when 2 separate medical examinations still leave the public without a final answer for how an 18-year-old college athlete died? That is where this case stands now. In Part 1, we followed Nolan Wells from the morning he traveled to Horn Island through the moment his friend's boat left without him at 4:31 in the afternoon. We examined the conflicting accounts surrounding whether Nolan intended to remain behind, the later witness who said he was nowhere in sight when her group left around 7:30, the CTO recording connected to the boat trouble, the search, the recovery of Nolan's body, and the independent autopsy that listed his cause and manner of death as undetermined. But after Nolan was found, something else began happening. Information started spreading faster than investigators could verify it. Some of it was real, some of it was disputed, some of it was completely false. And separating those categories has become one of the hardest parts of understanding what happened to Nolan Wells. If you want coverage that follows documented evidence instead of turning rumors into facts, like this video, and subscribe to North American Crime Case. Because in this second part, we are going through the evidence that appeared after Nolan's death, the evidence that seemed important and later became disputed, and the pieces investigators still have not publicly resolved. One of the clearest examples appeared in early August. A document began circulating on social media claiming to be Nolan's toxicology report. People shared it. Others discussed its supposed findings. Screenshots moved from one platform to another. Then Mississippi Public Safety Commissioner Sean Tindell publicly warned that the document was fraudulent. The toxicology report circulating online was not an authentic state report. That matters because toxicology has been one of the most anticipated pieces of evidence in this case. Questions have surrounded what Nolan consumed on Horn Island, what might have been in his system, and whether toxicology might help explain his condition before his death. But the actual state toxicology findings have not been publicly released. So anyone looking at an online document and believing they already know Nolan's official toxicology results risks building an entire theory on something authorities have said is fake. This is the environment surrounding the investigation. A real young man died. His family wants answers. Investigators are still working. At the same time, fake documents, edited clips, enhanced audio, and competing theories move through social media as if every new upload is a breakthrough. That makes the original evidence more important than ever. And one of the most important original pieces is the CTO recording. I have the publicly released recording connected to the boat Nolan traveled on earlier that day. The call was made while the vessel was experiencing a problem involving water entering the boat and a bilge pump that was not working correctly. The caller asks for marine assistance. There is noise. There are other voices. There is movement in the background. And after the recording became public, people began trying to identify words behind the main conversation. Some listeners said they heard Nolan's name. Others believed they heard a question involving whether someone was dead. Enhanced versions appeared online. People began listening to the same few seconds repeatedly. But here is the problem. Those interpretations have not been established as verified dialogue. The family retained forensic audio specialists to examine the recording, and experts discussing the audio have warned about the risk of enhancement creating artifacts or causing listeners to hear words they already expect to hear. That means the responsible way to approach the recording is not to tell you what you should hear. Listen to the original audio, pay attention to what is clear, then remember that the faint background speech remains disputed unless trained experts working from the best available recording establish otherwise. The CTO call is evidence. An internet interpretation of the CTO call is not the same thing. That distinction becomes important again when we reach the video that once looked like one of the biggest developments in the case. But before we get there, another question emerged. If Nolan entered the water, how did his body arrive near the northwest end of Horn Island? The Wells family's legal team said it was consulting experts about ocean conditions, tides, currents, and the location where Nolan was recovered. This does not mean experts have proved that the body's location was impossible under a drowning scenario. No such public conclusion has been established. The question is narrower. Would tides, currents, wind, water depth, and the possible point of entry help reconstruct Nolan's final movements? That is a scientific question, and in a case where witness memories are disputed, physical movement through water might become important. But even that analysis depends on information investigators still need to establish. Where did Nolan enter the water? When? Under what conditions? Was he alone? Was he conscious? Without knowing those things, the ocean itself does not give us a complete story. Then came another major development. The case will be presented to a grand jury after investigators complete their work. That sentence has generated its own confusion. A grand jury review does not mean prosecutors have concluded Nolan was murdered. The Jackson County District Attorney's Office has specifically said convening a grand jury does not itself establish criminal conduct. The office described the process as standard in many unnatural or suspicious death investigations in the county. That point matters. A grand jury gives prosecutors a formal process for presenting evidence to citizens who will review what investigators have collected. It does not tell us the outcome in advance. It does not identify a suspect. It does not prove a crime. What it does mean is that the evidence surrounding Nolan's death is expected to receive formal review once the investigation is complete. And the district attorney, Angel Myers-McElrath, has said she intends to present a thorough, complete, and fair investigation. For people demanding that every piece of evidence be released immediately, there is another reality. Prosecutors handling an active investigation face legal and ethical limits on what they can reveal publicly. So there is now a gap between what investigators might know and what the public has been allowed to see. Into that gap, speculation keeps rushing. One of the clearest examples involved a video from Horn Island. The footage spread widely online. It was recorded from a boat. People could hear shouting. People could see individuals near the beach. During an earlier press conference, attorney Ben Crump publicly discussed the clip and said he believed Nolan could be heard demanding his phone. If that interpretation were correct, the video would have been extremely important. Remember what Nolan's family had already been questioning. His phone returned to the mainland. Nolan did not. So footage appearing to show Nolan demanding his phone would immediately raise serious questions. Was there a confrontation? Did someone have Nolan's device? Was he trying to get it back? For a moment, the clip seemed capable of connecting several mysteries at once. Then Trayston Shepard gave a different account. Shepard was part of the wider group on Horn Island that day. He publicly said the shouting voice in the video belonged to him, not Nolan. According to Shepard, he had been involved in an argument with his girlfriend when another man became involved and the situation escalated. Shepard also said Nolan was not the person viewers were identifying in the footage. He maintained that Nolan was outside the camera's frame. Shepard gave his account to law enforcement. That does not mean viewers should automatically decide one interpretation is right and the other is wrong. It means the video is disputed at the most basic level. Who is speaking? Who appears in the image? Does Nolan appear at all? Those questions need to be established using the original recording, witnesses, visual comparison, metadata, and other evidence. And this is where the Nolan Wells investigation develops an unusual pattern. A piece of evidence appears. People believe the mystery is about to break. Then someone with direct knowledge disputes the interpretation. The reason Nolan supposedly remained on Horn Island has been challenged. The viral confrontation video has been challenged. Background words in the CTO recording remain disputed. A toxicology document spread online and was declared fraudulent. The independent autopsy did not establish a cause of death, and the official state findings remain outside the public record. Every apparent answer seems to lead back to the same instruction. Slow down, verify it, then ask what remains. That is also how the United Cajun Navy report needs to be treated. The organization assembled a 22-page working report using material gathered after Nolan disappeared. The document brings together information from tips, photographs, videos, mapping, public statements, social media material, and official GPS data. Some of that evidence carries more weight than other parts. Official vessel GPS is one category. A social media comment is another. A screen recording showing a displayed time is not automatically the same as authenticated metadata from the original file. A witness recollection is important, but it still needs to be tested against physical evidence and other statements. The report itself recognizes those limitations. Its purpose is not to declare who caused Nolan's death. It is an analytical tool designed to organize information. And when the stronger GPS records are separated from the weaker material, several important times remain. The boat carrying Nolan left the mainland at approximately 9:56 in the morning. It reached Horn Island at approximately 11:14. At 4:31 in the afternoon, the vessel began leaving the island. Nolan was not aboard. Those movements are stronger than someone's memory because they come from the vessel's electronic tracking data. But GPS tells us where the boat moved. It does not tell us where Nolan was standing. It does not tell us what he said. It does not tell us why he did not leave. It does not tell us what happened after the vessel pulled away. That is why witness evidence still matters. The United Cajun Navy report includes information about an alleged near confrontation around approximately 5 p.m. One person reportedly believed Nolan was among a group that was close to fighting. Another person disputed that identification and said a different individual was involved. The report itself does not treat the account as a confirmed sighting of Nolan. That is crucial. There is a major difference between saying there was an altercation on Horn Island and saying Nolan Wells was attacked. Publicly available evidence supports the first possibility in the sense that altercations were reported and investigators requested footage involving them. The available evidence does not establish the second as fact. So when you hear someone say a woman witnessed Nolan being beaten, ask for the original documented statement. The later witness account attributed to Caitlin Brochard does not say that. Her reported statement says Nolan was nowhere in sight when her group left around 7:30 p.m. That is important, but it does not identify where Nolan was. It does not establish what had happened to him. It does not prove he remained on the island alive until 7:30. It simply tells investigators that one person who says she was there later did not see him at the time her group departed. That is a piece of the puzzle. It is not the completed picture. Then we return to the one piece of evidence everyone hoped might settle the most basic question. Nolan's body. The independent autopsy was performed by forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell. Mitchell had previously served as chief medical examiner in Washington, D.C. His examination did not find fractures. It did not identify deep tissue injuries in several areas examined. He documented an area of red discoloration in deep tissue at the back of Nolan's head, but the cause of that discoloration could not be determined. There was no associated skull fracture identified. Decomposition limited the examination. There was another serious limitation. The state autopsy had already been performed. Organs and certain structures had been removed before Mitchell conducted his independent examination. That restricted his ability to independently evaluate every possible cause. After reviewing what was available, Mitchell listed Nolan's cause of death as undetermined pending further investigation. He also listed the manner of death as undetermined. He did not conclude that Nolan was murdered. He did not establish drowning as the cause. He said he could not exclude intervening non-accidental factors based on the evidence available to him. That wording matters. It leaves possibilities open. It does not choose one. And as of now, the public still has not received the full findings from the state medical examiner. The state autopsy was completed, but its findings have not been publicly released while the investigation continues. So there are questions only the official evidence might answer. Does the state examination identify drowning? Does toxicology provide useful context? Do the official findings agree with the independent examination? Do they explain the condition of Nolan's body? Until those results become public or are presented through legal proceedings, anyone claiming to know exactly what the state autopsy says is moving beyond the public evidence. That brings us to another object that has followed this story from the beginning, Nolan's phone. His parents have repeatedly said they do not believe Nolan would voluntarily remain on Horn Island while his phone returned to the mainland. The device might contain information relevant to the investigation: messages, calls, application records, location information, photographs, timestamps, potentially recoverable deleted data. But investigators need a controlled forensic process to determine what the phone actually contains. In July, the family and district attorney discussed a jointly coordinated forensic examination. The The family's lawyers later said the parties had talked about using the digital forensics lab at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, with possible FBI involvement. Then a disagreement developed over the logistics for transferring and examining the device. The family denied refusing to cooperate and said it wanted a joint process with agreed rules for chain of custody, extraction, access to the data, and preservation of the evidence. On August 17, the family's legal team publicly said its experts were ready and asked the district attorney to choose a date between August 18 and August 21 for the examination. As of the latest public reporting available for this video, there has been no confirmed public announcement that a joint forensic examination has been completed. So the phone remains another unresolved part of the investigation. And notice how different that is from the way rumors move online. Online, people say the phone proves something. The actual public record says the phone still needs forensic examination. Online, people say messages were definitely deleted. The family has raised questions about missing material, but a complete forensic analysis is what would help determine what was present, what was removed, when changes occurred, and whether those changes have any significance. Evidence first, conclusion later. While all of this has unfolded, Nolan's family has been dealing with another side of the case. Misinformation has not stayed on screens. Christine Wansley has publicly discussed the strain surrounding her son's death. Ben Crump has said false AI-generated material involving Nolan's mother circulated online. Reports have also described hate mail sent to the family. Supporters said negative reviews appeared on Christine's professional profile. At one point, Christine publicly clarified that she remained employed as a family nurse practitioner and was taking time away from work while grieving her son. Think about what that means. A mother loses her 18-year-old child. She is waiting for medical answers. She is meeting attorneys. She is pushing for evidence to be examined. And at the same time, she has to respond to false information about her own life. This is why misinformation in true crime is not harmless entertainment. A fake toxicology report does not exist in isolation. A falsely labeled video does not stay contained. An accusation repeated thousands of times starts affecting real people. That applies to Nolan's family. It also applies to the friends, witnesses, investigators, and anyone else who becomes the subject of unproven accusations. Several people have even faced criminal charges over alleged threats connected to the wider investigation. None of those threat cases establishes who caused Nolan's death. They show how heated the atmosphere surrounding this investigation has become. At the same time, national attention has continued growing. The NACAB joined the family's legal effort. The Congressional Black Caucus called for greater federal scrutiny. Ben Crump has continued representing the family. Public figures have helped support independent investigative efforts and rewards for information. But national attention does not replace evidence. Neither does money. Neither does public pressure. At the center of everything remains the same 18-year-old young man, Nolan Xavier Wells, a wide receiver, a college student, a son, a brother, a young man preparing for another football season. He traveled to Horn Island on July 4th. His friends returned. His phone returned. Nolan did not. 2 days later, his body was recovered. More than a month later, the public still does not have a final official explanation for how he died. The independent autopsy remains undetermined. The official state findings have not been publicly released. The CTO background audio remains disputed. The viral confrontation video has a competing identification. The alleged 5 p.m. sighting is not confirmed. The 7:30 witness statement tells us Nolan was not seen by that witness, not where he was. The phone has remained at the center of an unresolved forensic process. The grand jury has not publicly reached a conclusion, and no publicly identified person has been charged with causing Nolan Wells' death. Those are the facts we have to stand on, not because they provide an easy answer, because they do not. And perhaps that is the most important thing about this case right now. We do not need to invent certainty to understand why Nolan's family wants more answers. There are enough documented questions already. What was Nolan planning to do when the boat prepared to leave? Where was he when it departed at 4:31? Who last saw him under circumstances investigators can independently verify? What information sits inside the original digital files from Horn Island? What will a proper forensic examination of Nolan's phone reveal, if anything? What does the original CTO recording contain once experts separate clear speech from noise? What do the official autopsy and toxicology findings show? And what explanation will investigators eventually present for how Nolan Wells went from celebrating the 4th of July on Horn Island to being found dead 2 days later? Until those questions are answered through evidence, every responsible discussion of this case needs to leave room for what we still do not know. Nolan's family has made its position clear. They want a complete investigation. They want relevant evidence examined. They want the case presented through the proper legal process. And they want to understand what happened to their son. That is where we leave this investigation for now. Not with an accusation, not with a viral theory, not with a fake report, with a timeline that still has missing pieces and a family still waiting for the evidence to tell them what happened. If you want us to continue following every verified development in the Nolan Wells investigation, like this video and subscribe to North American Crime Case. We will keep separating documented facts from rumors as this case moves forward, because Nolan Wells deserves more than speculation, and when the next real piece of evidence emerges, we will be here to examine exactly what it changes and what questions still remain.